Oh,
age.
I'm gonna cut in. So, well, of course, we're always
Yeah,
talking before the show. We're having a great
I
time,
know.
and now we're joining in with everybody else. So, we have a fantastic guest today, and she has one of my favorite names of all time. Her name is Rosanna, and it's my
Aw.
favorite song of all time. For those of you, if you're a young drummer, I mean, it's a rite of passage to learn to play Rosanna. So, we're super excited to have her here. And Johnny, I want to find out how in the world. Well, first, how you doing, Johnny? Should throw that in there.
I'm doing very well, thank you for asking. All is good. Looking forward to, Christmas. I've ordered everything, but nothing has actually arrived,
Oh,
so I'm getting a little antsy.
That's
Yeah.
nerve-wracking.
it
I
went
Yeah.
to
ordered
it went to
everything.
your neighbor's house. That's why. There's
I've
porch
got
pirates.
there's wrapping paper everywhere. I'm just waiting.
So can you tell us a little bit about Rosanna and how did you two what happened that your paths crossed?
Probably not, 'cause I never remember. Yeah, as is my norm. I know that I know people, and I know that I like people. I love Rosanna and her husband. Just great. Just geez, wonderful people. So super
Aw,
funny, super wonderful, just a dream. But I think
thank you.
let me think, did we meet Rosanna at a did you just because you came to one of my workshops? Is that how it was?
I was a very late ad on, the New England Narrators Retreat a few years ago.
A few years ago, that's when we met, right?
Yeah, because I wanted to branch out into audiobooks, and I wanted to go all in, and if I was gonna do it, I was gonna do it right, and so that was my first foray into the audiobook industry and getting to meet people.
That was a good one for you. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
it was a
it's
gret one.
it's it's such a warm atmosphere there.
Mhm, yeah.
Matter of fact, I just spoke to my friends at Macmillan, 'cause Macmillan always comes, there's Guy and Steve and,
And
why'd her
Esther
name what's her name?
Esther,
Esther, yeah,
yeah.
so I sent cookies out to them, and they did not receive the cookies for their Christmas cookies, so I had to go back over my orders because I ordered in November, and I had forgotten to put them in.
Oh,
Oh,
So I
funny how that
like,
so I
or
works.
sent 'em
somebody
again.
got some good cookies.
No, I just totally forgot to send it to them. So I
Oh.
I did it today. They'll get it.
So what
But
when you went to the narrators retreat the first time, what struck you as were these people the same as everybody else and the other things you've been doing? Was it better, worse? What was your impression when you came into that group?
That's a really good question. So I was in the voiceover world prior to that, just not a whole long time, but honestly, I left teaching, and I'd been, on camera and on stage and stuff, and then got into voiceover, and immediately was impressed with how open people were, and then the audiobook group of people kind of took it to a whole other level. It felt like to me of inclusiveness as far as sharing knowledge and sharing encouragement and uplifting people and not just an attaboy attagirl type situation, but actually like stepping in to see where you're at and see how you can level up. And that was really lovely, actually.
Well, so
Yeah.
what does that contrast with? Tell us about your background. Did you started off? I think you were a plumber to begin with, and then you transitioned into some sort of acting situation.
Yeah, my nasal passages started having issues, so I knew I needed a change.
Okay,
So I went into teaching, and the smells got better.
okay.
Just no, they didn't.
no,
Uh,
it didn't.
no. So when I decided to move back to Texas, I knew my husband and I, well, we weren't married yet, but I knew we were going to have kids and we wanted to raise our kids around our parents. And so I decided to teach because my actual degree was in theater studies. So I could focus on directing and acting, and if I wanted to, teaching. And so I was blessed to be able to step into the public schools in Texas and teach for almost a decade. And um, that was isolating a little bit in that fine arts are kind of like the other, in public schools. Um, so I learned to build a program with grant money and like apply for grants and get money so that and also how to talk about the value of the arts in education. So that was really great, but it was still isolating because I was in a smaller district where it was just me. There wasn't anyone else. So my colleagues were the band director and the choir director. So stepping into voiceover, there's more people. And they're wonderful. But before that, I've done the on stage and on camera thing, and it's a little more I don't know what adjectives to use that's not, I want to be kind.
You don't have to be kind.
It's a bit more competitive as far as like not sharing information because you're worried someone's going to take your job.
Yeah.
And when I started in voiceover, everyone was so open about there's enough work for all of us if you're good. Like if you're a skilled actor, there is enough work for all of us. So let's just help each other. And I love that so much. Yeah, and like and one of my first coaches told me that knowing where my skill set was in the voiceover industry, so if I didn't get cast and I'm putting out good stuff, they just wanted a different tone, a different kind of voice,
Yeah.
not me. So, and that's fine. That
Yes.
doesn't, it's really hard to offend me anymore. We get told no so many times. So,
The very hated, they went in a different direction note. Yeah.
so well, what is it? If you want a steak or if you want a salmon, or, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I want both, but the question
Or a
would be,
cupcake.
did you do community theater? Were you doing stage things? And I know you did on camera. What sort of work were you doing there?
Oh, on camera was primarily commercials, like local, that kind of regional kind of thing. I acted in LA for a little bit and was able to do some stuff. But the one movie that I was in got shelved by Sony because another movie was coming out that was too similar, so they bought it and then put it on a shelf. And to this day, we still haven't gotten to see the footage, and I got to sing and everything in it. But so
Oh,
it's that stereotypical, like Hollywood
cutting room
story.
floor.
But yeah. But it was such a blessing. I loved LA. I absolutely loved it. I got to do a tour where we traveled the United States with a kids show. It was a musical
So you
called
loved
A
LA
Kid's
because you
Life.
didn't spend time in it. You got to leave.
Well,
That's
no, they had farmers markets. Remember, small town Texas, but they had farmers markets. They had really good food when you could afford it. So when Jeremy flew out probably 9 or 10 times, people just started giving us frequent flyer miles so he could come visit, which was really sweet.
yeah.
But we could afford maybe one big meal, and then we would just go to the farmers market or the Ralph's or whatever it's called, I forget, and
Yeah.
come back, and that was our date, was cooking together and learning new recipes. So, yeah, but that's fair. That's fair. I did not spend a whole lot of time in LA because I was on tour, but that was fun because I got to see lots of the United States that I wouldn't have otherwise.
And how many nights a week were you performing?
It was, I think we had one day off.
Okay, so you were
It was like
doing 5-6 days a week,
unless we were travel.
and
Yeah,
you did
except for travel days.
you did this for how long?
I
Roughly?
think that one was like 6 months. It was a shorter one.
Okay, so and you
Yeah.
did multiple of these tours?
No.
Okay, but see, here's the funny thing. People go, well, so you were an overnight success, but you
Oh.
happen to go ahead and work your craft 5-6 nights a week in front of a live audience, taking director's notes at the end of each one. And that, when you're doing something like that, because I did the same sort of thing as a musician, if you're playing multiple nights per week, if you're performing multiple nights in a row, if you're doing the same thing, you get a chance to refine it over 6 months where you're
Mhm.
doing the same rough thing, I mean, with minor variations every night. By the time you're done, you're unconsciously competent about so many things that you didn't even know before you did that
Yeah.
kind of concentrated stuff. So, how did that affect the way you approached audiobooks? Did you start off thinking of it as a big performance? Did you, how did that transition go?
Well, thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. I thought it would be an easy, like, just slot right in to being able to perform behind a microphone. And because of my education background, so whenever I was a teacher, I got my master's in theater education and curriculum development in rural communities because of where I was teaching. So I was good on education. And I'm a little embarrassed to say when I left teaching, I had a year, I call it a year of mourning of what I thought was going to be my life. But in that year, I was getting back into performing on camera and stuff. But my husband was like, he's probably listened to more audiobooks than anybody I know. And he's like, babe, I think this is right up your alley with all that you're directing and your acting. And I was like, I don't know about that. I took a community college class. And I have a master's, and I'm embarrassed to say I kind of poo-pooed at first. I'm like, community college, come on. And that that's humbling because the person that was teaching the class acknowledged, me for where I was at, and he taught to all levels in there, but encouraged me. He's like, Rosanna, you got to get to One Voice. It's in Dallas. It's right down the road from you. You have to go to the One Voice conference, and it kind of took off from there. But in that community college class, I got to kind of flub and fall all over myself and learn what is a dog clicker. He literally meant a dog clicker, which, I mean, I don't use that for punch and roll. It's usually for like short form stuff that I'm using it for, so I can go back and edit quickly later. But silly little thing, it's not silly, but to me now, looking back, it's, things that you should just know that I didn't. And so Cliff was able to kind of walk me through those stumbling blocks that I think most new talent have. Yeah.
You bring up a great point. The idea that there is an idea that certain things should be known.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that they may not be. And that's why you go back to the whole idea. There's no such thing as a really stupid question. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And the only stupid thing is not to ask. I mean, I know there's some embarrassment. Everybody knows, punch and roll. What if they don't? So we have a whole
No.
talk about, people talk to me about DAW. And they said, your DAW. And I said, well, I don't know what's a DAW.
Yeah.
Someone said stacks to me the other day. And I said, what are you talking about? Just because what's known to everybody isn't always known. And I didn't know what stacks was. I already forgot what it was.
One of my friends literally sat with me on Zoom to walk me through punch and roll and how to actually do it. Yeah.
People in our business, I think in the audiobook world, will do that as long as the person asking the question is A, willing to learn, and B, seems sincere in it,
Yeah.
We've all seen, all three of us, and Don is the shepherd of at least 75,000 Facebook groups at this count. And there's always someone, it just came up, I think this morning or yesterday, somebody said, I've got 250 books I need a male and female narrator for, and they're all short. And it's a colossal scam. And all these people in the group say, I'm so interested. I'll DM me. I'm thinking, people won't pay attention to the fact they've been told if something looks too good, it is. It's a scam. And people are going to try and scam actors all the time. I'm really glad that you took the path you took and are taking to avoid this kind of stuff, because there's a lot of good souls in this business, but the actors in general are easy prey for scammers because, any way you want to say it, we need to be validated by other people all the time.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's true. It's why we're doing this.
Do you know, I've gotten to the point where I want that validation from my friends, the
And
colleagues
your
that I
peers,
consider
yeah.
my friends, that I trust their opinion, not the peanut gallery so much, But it took a minute to get there.
So tell us more about your journey. Do you remember your first audiobook and how you got it?
That was such a gift. It was such a gift. My first audiobook is called Beautiful Ashes, and I got it on ACX, and I was able to pass off the editing. I used the money that she paid me. It was I kept some of it, and I was able to farm out the editing to make sure that my first book sounded really good. And I still don't, that had to be just, it was such a kismet moment. It's about this woman who, it's her memoir. And she went through so much trauma and lost her mother because of her father, and some other, like, just a huge insurmountable odds that happened in her life, that she still came out on the other side with faith. And faith is a big part of my life. And although her faith and my faith are not the same, it was still a really beautiful story to get to share how a faith in something helped her rise above. And it was stunning. I get emotional thinking about it because it's so beautiful, and that she wanted my voice. It was really, it was lovely.
What's the name of it?
Beautiful Ashes. It's by Shelley Edwards Jorgensen.
I found it. I'll put that in the chat. We do have some people asking some questions here. So I'm gonna
go. Let's go.
We're gonna have a lightning round.
All right.
Why did you leave? Why did you leave teaching?
That's layered. I'll try to go quicker. The short answer is I have 3 girls, 13, 10, and 7 now. It was several years ago, so they were it was shortly after my youngest was born, and they were all going to their dad, who's awesome. Those of you who know him, he's lovely and he's wonderful.
He really
Um,
is.
and he wasn't upset about it or anything, but when you're a theater teacher, you're gone. He's like a theater widow, so shows are I was doing 4 shows a year. When you are building up a department and you're the only person, it takes a lot of time, and so I was just coming home a little more depleted and not as present with them because I was at the theater. Yeah.
Okay.
And I as much as they went to him, I wanted them to come to me too, and it just made sense for our family
Yeah, smart.
for me to be able to find another option.
Fantastic. No, we
Yeah.
homeschooled all 5 of ours, so we kind of relate. And somebody's asking, where from Texas are you?
North of Dallas. I say small town Texas. I usually say Dallas because nobody knows where my town is. You usually drive through it to get somewhere.
Cool.
So yeah, I do miss theater though. I look forward to when I can go back into the theater, whether it's in a directing or acting capacity. I look forward to that one day. Yeah.
Let's see. The refusal to answer questions hit me in auditions. Definitely drove me away with a sense of being unwelcome. I'm guessing that's voiceover, going for on camera or other things. I'm not sure on that.
Or maybe the posturing in the room whenever we were doing a lot
Oh,
more
yeah,
in-person auditions, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, it's tough, Tom. It's hard. I get that.
oh, and somebody,
Everyone's looking for the same job.
Yeah.
And that's why when it gets, I find it a little different than other genres of acting in the audiobook and in the voiceover world in general. There's, I think, a lot more openness and a lot more willingness to share. It's the nature of the people.
Yeah.
And not that, and it's true in theater too. I guess it's just not true in the real world, but in the fantasy acting world, these people are by and large pretty decent and willing to help and willing to share.
Yeah,
So-
and on-camera actors are too. It's just the scarcity of work, at least where I am in Texas, the scarcity.
Oh yeah,
well, yeah.
it's tough.
In LA, they put out a call for an actor for a bit part, and if less than 300 people show up, it seems to them like something is wrong. It's crazy the number of people that are here and are going after every single thing. And by the way, we got a super chat here. Craig just sent us $10.
Yay!
So
Well,
Craig, thank you.
yeah.
Really, we
Yeah,
always
you guys are all allowed to send loot.
yeah. And so somebody's asking, so here's a business question basically.
Sure.
Barbara's saying, I adore your website.
Aw,
Did you have
thanks,
the
Barbara.
photos done by Lone Star Pinup? Somebody,
Yes.
so yes? No?
Yes, Lone Star Pinup. She's in Texas. She's amazing. She's an actor herself, so she has actor speak. My headshot. I hate getting headshots done. I hate it. I don't like having my picture taken. I don't mind having my picture taken, but I don't like it. I know it's a tool for, work, but it's not my favorite thing to do with
Just
posing
you in that
and all
red
that.
dress, right? Looking,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so Erin Riddle at Lone Star Pinup, she is amazing. She speaks actor and can get all kinds of things out from you. And I knew when I was working on my branding with Celia Siegel, and we can talk about that if y'all want as well. And I knew kind of the direction and the vibe I wanted. Just I'm a little more traditional in how I come across and how my voice is. I knew what facets of my character were important to promote what I'm getting cast in already. And so I talked with Erin about that, and we looked at different styles and settled on this. And I'm so proud of it. That was a huge creative hive mind collective. That was not just me, not just Erin. It was so many people coming together to work on that shoot and that website. It was,
Okay,
That's
but
cool,
here's
yeah.
what here's you had been in the business, the entertainment business, we'll just say, for multiple decades, and yet you're collaborating with you're hiring coaches, you're paying people money. Why didn't you just do it all yourself? You know what you're doing.
I could show. Well, I don't know if you could still find it in some back web thing on what my website used to look like. I was proud of it. It was clean. It looked clean, but it wasn't like, oh, that's so. I I want to talk to her. I want to know her. She might be fun to work with.
So why did
Okay.
you get? But why did you? Why did you get somebody else involved with that? Why would you pay money for something that you could have figured out yourself?
Well, it's like any stage play or movie is better because of the collaboration of a team of people. It's not about just the on-camera talent at all. Most of the beauty is happens from the crew and the creators. I don't know. Even though I did get to play part creator in this, obviously because it's me, but any work of art is going. And I wanted my website to be like a work of art, truly, because if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right, and I'm gonna do it well, and I'm gonna do it in a way that I can be proud of it. So, yeah, I'm a big person on Hive Mind. So, yeah.
Cool,
That's
cool,
great.
cool. I've got to
That,
mute
that,
my.
that, by the way, the series of questions Don just asked you was what I was talking about. When he asks these completely leading questions to get you to talk about stuff he wants to hear about.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer whatever. I'm an
So
open book.
let's go back. So how many audiobooks, if you know, have you done, do you think, so far in the last, what have you, 3-year career you gotten in the audiobook
I
world?
started my first Beautiful Ashes came out at the beginning of 2022, I think.
22. Okay, so so
So,
the end of 2 years, yeah.
I think it says 27.
That's
But
good. No,
I
that's great.
have a pseudonym.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing that face because I'm trying to remember. This is my
Oh.
trying to remember face. I think I'm at 27 or
It's a
28.
good look for you, that face. Keep that going. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just do it here. Maybe I should be like a ventriloquist on the side. So, if you ever want to hire me to be a ventriloquist, do you remember those, like the slappy,
Suck.
whatever?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
um,
Knucklehead Smith, I remember.
yeah. Yeah, so and then I have a pseudonym. So, oh my goodness, I think I'm over 30 books now. I think I'm at
Yay,
32,
yay.
33. Yay.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I will say that when, and everybody listening, watching this live now and going to watch later, Don and I are always happy to find, if you want to come on our show, we're happy to have you as a guest. And when I reached out to you, I was really excited just because I don't know if you know this, but you are very, very well respected and liked by so many people, and you should know it. And it's because you're genuine and you're charming, you're honest, and you clearly care about the craft. And to the rest of us in the industry, that makes a difference. It just makes you, it sets you apart from many. And I'm telling you that so you know. So
Thank you.
I believe your career will be just wonderful because of your not just you're talented, no question, but it's not just talent. It's also there's just a wonderfulness to you. And I mean,
Oh,
it's yours.
thank
You own
you.
it, and it's great, and people
Thank
recognize
you.
it. Yeah, so that's okay.
So
Now,
I appreciate that. No, thank you. There was one year that I went to Neener and I came home and I was very sad, not because of anybody at Neener, but because of myself. Because I had not brought my full self to the table and I was like masking some stuff. And that means a lot to hear you say that because I flipped the script and did some work and figured some stuff out and feel better stepping into who I really am and just being that with people. So thank you.
that's great.
That means a lot. Yeah.
When you said Neener,
no,
until this year, I think if she's right, there's Marie McCann Glover, who I was just talking about the other day. She thinks I don't like her. I love Maria. I love her.
Oh,
But
she's one of the sweetest, most lovely people.
she's just wild, and I think she thinks because I look at her like this that I don't like. I think she's fantastic. But I don't know. I don't know who came up with it. Neener. I mean, N-E-N. I thought N-E-N-R, but it never would have occurred to me to sound it out. So people call it Neener, and I still have a beat. I'm like, what are you talking? I still don't
Just
know
take
what
a
it is.
second to consider.
What are you talking about?
So Keith asked a pretty good question here. Is there a genre or style of audiobook you haven't got to do yet, but are dreaming of doing?
I just got to do it.
Or which ones? What's your
Yeah.
favorite? What are you into?
I was dreaming of getting to do a fantasy, and I just got to do my first fantasy. And it was so beautiful because the world building is wonderful. It's Divine Mortals by Amanda M. Hellender, and it's a Disney book that John Marshall Media produced, and it was I was beside myself getting to go in and figure out voices for all those characters, and I got to play. I got to, and Joel talked about this at Neener this year, because I brought a piece working on character development on how broad can I be, and I get to be like that bigger eccentric person that part of myself in fantasy books. So my next would be sci-fi. I really want to get into sci-fi. I love Blake Crouch so much, and Brandon Sanderson. It would be a dream, and I know Brandon Sanderson has a team, a husband-wife duo that are amazing. They're wonderful. But yeah, that would be a dream to get to do. Yeah,
Well,
one of those.
what I find one of the big changes, I don't know if it's changed, but it's the world of audiobooks is open more and more and more to much more diverse and authentic casting. So there's a lot of sci-fi and fantasy and adventure and that lit RPG stuff for men, women, everybody. It's just
Yeah.
It's good. The world now, at least the audiobook world, faster than other places, has really opened up to, gosh, everybody, every gender, every person, every ethnicity, and it's just great. So many more people getting in all the time. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I mentioned, I get to have him on as a guest. You know Leon Nixon, don't you? Do you, Don?
No.
You know Leon? He's a
I'm
great
not
guy.
sure.
He's out in LA. Fantastic fantastic actor, and he worked with me and he's available as a coach now. And I bring it up because he's black. And not because he's black. He just happens to be he happens to be black. And for my money, there aren't enough coaches of color available. If some people aren't sure comfortable, so I'm trying to do. It was probably the last thing I do in the audiobook industry before my time ends, is try to get more people involved from different backgrounds, because I think it makes a difference.
I love
Oops,
that.
oh, I hit a button. What happened? Wait, my iPad started playing the music. Wait, stop it. I accidentally hit it.
I think it means you're gonna serenade us.
No,
your
I
turn to sing,
hit a
Johnny.
button, and all of a
Step
sudden
up
it
to
was
the mic.
Joanne.
Embrace.
It was Joanne and I up in Camden, Maine. It was a little musical Facebook decided to
Aw,
make, and I accidentally
lovely.
hit it. I don't know. There's all kinds of weird things
So
happening.
here's
Oh,
Jeffrey.
also
Go ahead.
Keith. To talk back to what Keith was graphic audio, the movie in your mind. Those are fun. That's my next that I'm gonna be fishing for.
oh yeah. You should get to know my friend Eric Martin, who was a guest. Was it last week, Don?
Yes.
He does a lot of he does that kind of thing.
Yeah, fun. I love that.
So here's a great question. So what activity do you think moved your audiobook career forward the most? A course, a conference, a coach, a daily practice?
Moved it forward, like moved the needle.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think my acting background was a huge plus coming into it, especially with AI. I know, and we don't need to go and talk about AI, but I do think that being able to act, whether it's voiceover or audiobooks, that like it just is it's a shorthand for me in the voiceover world where I can jump in and slot in a live direct session and it doesn't stress me out. And a lot of voice actors get really nervous about doing live directs, but I'm used to directing and giving and taking there. So that was immensely helpful having that leg up to begin with. Once I got into the industry, I would say going to the New England Narrator Retreat set me up to go to APAC where I knew people already.
Wow.
So that I didn't feel overwhelmed in the sheer number of people. And I kind of had not my crew, like there was a group of us girls that we just, oh, hey. And like and we were more comfortable at that. So then I could be more present and more confident in what I was putting out at APAC. So, which is where the publishers are, where the people who give out the work are. And so it's all in the follow-ups there too. Like meeting them and getting to know them, but not in a meat market, grab kind of way, but just like being yourself kind of way. So, but I would say those two things, going to Neener in a smaller setting to get confident with like 4 publishers that made me comfortable at APAC and my colleagues friends that I'd made.
For those who haven't gone to either of those 2 events, APAC is coming up again in March.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is Neener, as we're calling it, is 60, 70 actors, and 3 to 4 publishers. Last year you went was the first time we had 4 publishers. But there's always 3, and we're together 3 days. I mean, lunch, breakfast, dinner, and we're together and we're sharing. So you really get a chance to know people on not just I'm talent, you're buyer level. It's a person. This is Don Baarns, this chat, and you really get to know people, and it's really helpful because I think for a lot of people coming into any of the businesses, the casting people and production and publication people always seem to be on a level different than ours. We're a bunch of actors, we're the talent, all herded into our pen. And I think that there are so many misconceptions about who the other people are. And once you meet them, you realize these are good people. They want me to get the job. They're good people. And it changes your attitude, and it gets rid of a lot of that fear and a lot of things that help you from being the best you can be in your auditions and things. And then when you see them again, as you said at APAC, you already have a friendship with some of them. You've already met them, and you also know, hey, these are regular people. Because at APAC, as you said, there's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they're all there. And
Well,
so
and for
sometimes,
me, it wasn't a starstruck thing.
yeah,
I don't get starstruck. The only time I've ever been starstruck is when I got to meet Pudge Rodriguez. It was last year, and I was beside myself. I was sweating so bad. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I felt the same way with Carlton Fisk, same position.
God, I was so excited. I had his baseball card when I was a little girl, and grew up on the dream team of the Rangers, and I got to meet him last year. And I wasn't. I don't ever approach people who are famous or whatever, not because I'm scared, but just because I don't want to bug them. And I'm not starstruck. Him, I was, and that's why I wasn't going up to him. My husband, Mr. Rosanna, definitely threw me under the bus in the best way and went up to him and was like, "Hey, you're probably the only guy that I'd be okay my wife giving giving a hug to, or
You're the
saying
hall
hi."
pass.
So, well, he didn't put it that way. He definitely didn't say hot, well, but you're the no, this is what he said. He said, "You're the only one I'm uncomfortable with her meeting." Because he knew how hot and bothered I get about Pudge. So there's a picture of me and and I'm just freaking out.
That's a great story.
Anyway, but no, but I don't get starstruck with people. But I also don't know this. I didn't know this industry very well before Neener, the audiobook industry in particular, because that's a whole other monster than the voiceover industry. Because voiceover, you're dealing with buyers and production companies, but then in the audiobook industry, you're working with publishers and indie authors. And so, and I was fine talking to indie authors. It was the publishers. I didn't know what offended them. I didn't know what was okay to reach out to them, when it was okay, how, and those are the things I learned at Neener. And then also that I could take to APAC as well, like the confidence I said, but also the follow-ups, like what stands out, what is a great way to communicate with them that sticks in their brain where they remember you. Yeah. So yes, it can help if you get nervous socially, but it also helps business-wise. That was my big.
I'm so pleased that happened for you. I mean, it's great. So that's what Neener is for. I'm never going to call it that again, but that's what it's for. And it's so cool that did do that for you, because that's the whole point of all of it. By the way,
they become people, though. I can't believe the conversations we ended up having at lunch or breakfast or dinner with somebody who somebody might have been starstruck about, or just uncomfortable approaching directly, but then they find out, oh, you like cats too? And silly things about them that are just what people like to know about somebody else and their hobbies. And it's just not all business, but it also makes you memorable, that you realize, oh, they like cats too, or they don't like cats, they hate cats, doesn't matter. Whatever their personal things are, you just find out, wow, they're just like me. They have their own things that they love and hate and, dislike.
Or they're in the midst of watching The Golden Bachelorette, as are you, and you have no idea who she's going to choose in the end, and you have very particular feelings about it.
I'd like to say, for the record, I've never seen it.
I haven't either.
Or
they're fun. The golden ones are fun.
The only reality show that I've actually deigned to watch more than one episode of is the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah,
which I
not
find,
Survivor.
No, I never.
Oh my gosh!
If you really want to survive, you need to put them all on an island filled with snakes and Komodo dragons and cannibals, and see who's left.
That's where I get a lot of my voices.
Oh,
when I'm thinking of voices, I think of Survivor characters. I'm like, oh, that's definitely a oh my gosh, I just brain farted. What's his name? Akai. Or that's oh, they're
you
all
can
old
use
school
Lost
characters.
though. You can just watch Lost and you'd get a bunch of characters too.
Wherever you get them is great, but I think whatever TV show you watch, wherever you go. I living in Manhattan, there's all kinds of characters. And,
You
literally
can just
everywhere.
people watch. Yeah, that's
It's
true.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. So it's by the way, Don, Tom Barkley asked for
Oh,
Leon's
yeah. I was gonna
I
pull
and
that
I
one
I
up.
s I messaged it to you.
Oh, then I will grab it.
In your messages is Leon's
Okay, I will post
yeah,
that.
and he's just a wonderful guy, and so there. But this, I think, everything you're saying was about Nina and about your career and about how it's going for you. It's almost storybook. I mean, you put the time in, you put the work in. You're the perfect person. It's like I could not have, if I wanted to model who should approach this business, what kind of person should be, and the best way to do so, I could not have picked anyone better than you. It's like you
Oh,
check off all the boxes, and it's just wonderful that things are going well.
thank
We
you.
talked a little earlier, and we're going to go to some of these questions in a second, but
Yeah.
we talked earlier about one of your favorite books you did, and it was the Disney one. Was that the one you mentioned?
Yeah, Divine Mortals
That's
by
the Divine Mortal. So
by
that's the
Amanda M. Hellender.
okay.
And then a big indie author one that I got to do that was wonderful. It's called Only You by Michaela Jean Taylor. And
Mhm.
I got it because of a personal connection. Not with her. I'd never met her, but I read the blurb on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's me and Mr. Rosanna's love story. And I reached out to her and I said, I have to audition for this. I love whatever blurb she had up on ACX. I said, I love this. My husband and I fell in love in Breckenridge. It just is so it's perfect.
Oh,
And yeah. And anyway, so it was a they'd been friends forever, and my husband and I were friends forever, and like then in adulthood they
yeah.
came together. And anyway, so yeah.
Well, here's another thing. What you just said, you're telling a story that happened, and it's lovely, but you did something there that a lot of people never do, which is not only did you reach out to the author, but you made it about them, and you let them know how your story touched you. And I'm telling you, I mean, if I have 3 actors who are similar in talent and abilities and skills, the one who says something like you just said, tells a story, that's the one I wanna deal with.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Only
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, and see, every whether you're dealing out with, Steve Wagner, Macmillan, or Julie Wilson and Penguin Random, whoever you're talking to, they know you want the job. So, but they wanna know who
Yeah.
you are. What makes you a little different? That's why you fill those profiles out for those, all those different companies and things. You've
That can
got
be
to be
vulnerable
specific.
though.
Huh?
Yeah. That can be really vulnerable though. It
Don't
took a
tell anybody
big
anything that's uncomfortable.
Well, no, it's a choice on what you share and what you don't. So like there are things I share in my work life that I don't share in my personal life, like disability stuff that I share with publishers
Yeah,
because if it matters with the authors and all that kind of thing, but I
right.
don't, so that's being vulnerable and being willing to and that took a minute for me to be okay with that because I thought they wanted a picture, a certain picture, right?
It is hard to be okay with that because sharing
Yeah.
things with these who are strangers,
Mhm.
things that you don't talk to people you know and like about, that is different. And
Yeah.
you, meaning the general you, have to be either okay or not okay with it. I mean,
Mhm.
there are some things I've never told my therapist, you know? There's some stuff I'm just not talking about. That's just the way things are, you know?
Yeah.
So, how vulnerable and open you are is really dependent on you and what you can do. But just the idea, well, my point is, when you reach out to Don Baarns, Don, I loved your story about how important pickleball was to you. It's so important to me too. I met my wife playing pickleball, whatever, you know? So now there's a connection.
Right.
There's something like you and I now, we both know we like baseball, which we didn't know about each other.
Yeah.
So now we see each other, we can talk some baseball stuff that we never would have brought up because it never got there. Because
Yeah.
one of the issues that happens when I see you at Nina or anybody else, there's 60 or 70 of you, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to spend time with all of you,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
it's hard to get into this. You have more in-depth conversations and get to know other people more intimately
Yeah.
than you ever will me because I don't have the time to sit with you. But now I have
Yeah.
an hour with you here, and I'm
Yeah.
learning things, and you're only going further higher in my estimation. So,
Aw.
Oh.
You're so sweet. I just
I
need to talk with y'all every morning before I do my auditions. That's what is that? Mindful Meditations by
Okay.
Johnny Heller and Don Baarns.
Yeah, that'd be good at that. Mine, yeah, that I
That'd be
can't see me doing.
hilarious. I'm picturing your tone, your acerbic, sarcastic tone,
Yeah, I'd
looking
be
at me
good
in the mirror.
Yeah. Look in the mirror. No, no, no. Better not. Better turn around.
We're auditioning to be one of characters in your books is really all we're
That's
trying to do here, okay?
I've definitely cast people that I know from. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking at
good.
them
you
actually. Yeah, yeah.
and Don, your wife Lisa put a note in about she'd worked with a lot of MLB and NBA players, and she
Well,
knew
she hadn't, but she has a cousin that was in a private school, and the kids there were the players, you know, at
I
this
met
one school.
Roger Clemens, and I didn't find him to be decent at all and a good person at all.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was working at a gym, and he came in and had to do some. He was trying to make one of his many a comeback. I can't remember, but weren't allowed to talk to him, look at him, or anything. It was just like
What?
he was
Okay.
really. It
Wow.
wasn't a wonderful experience. I'm
Yeah.
never gonna date that guy. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. He's marked off the list. All right.
yeah. He's not my hall pass anymore.
Onward and upward, Johnny.
So where do you
Uh,
what's your pet project for this next year? Do you have anything?
Well, the first quarter, I am getting coached up in a new genre for me. So, I'm focusing on work in the audiobooks. Like I'm focusing my auditions in the audiobook world and the work that I'm doing in the audiobook world while I'm coaching on corporate narration and explainer videos
oh,
and working on a demo for that so I can start spinning that plate.
nice.
So, yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say that this year I did an e-learning demo. Scott Brick had an e-learning demo, and it
Yeah.
came out early in the year, and I thought it was fantastic. So I reached out to J. Michael Collins, who did it, and he did
He's
mine.
wonderful, isn't he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did mine. So it's a great e-learning. You know what I've done with it so far? Nothing.
Bip,
I
bip.
haven't had time. This has been an
Yeah.
incredibly busy year, but I really want to get it out. Just
Yeah.
the demo is great.
You can hire a virtual assistant to help you market yourself in that specific genre. There's
Well,
a
tell me.
company called VA for VO that
Oh
will
wait,
sync you up.
we had her up. Wasn't that isn't that who is that? Bridget?
Bridget Reel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah.
she on our show,
Yeah,
Don?
yeah, she was.
They'll
I
sync you
forgot. I
up
want to call her. I
and
forgot.
yes. Get with her.
I got to make a note.
Yes, because you can hire someone to help you do that for you so the work comes to
I'm
you.
doing that. I don't have
So,
time. I'm going to do that.
yeah.
That's a great.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that
Bridget.
lets you focus on your yeah.
See,
There
I
you go.
told Bridget I was going to call her, and I totally forgot. And then you
Isn't
brought
she
it up. I said, "How
wonderful?
do I know?" Huh?
Yeah,
Isn't
she's
she
great.
wonderful?
She
She's
was
so
on our
great.
show. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great. I do want someone to help me because, one of the things is once you've, I'm doing fine. I'm not complaining. But there's other things I still want to try and want to
Mhm.
do. But sometimes the work, I'm busy sometimes,
Yeah.
and I can't spend the time. I can always spend time to do jobs.
Right.
The marketing and harvesting to get the jobs, all that, grunt work, I just don't have time.
And if it gets to the point where it will pay for itself, that
Yeah.
person like earns their income kind of thing. Like it's a good option if you want to spend
I'm
most
gonna
of your
make a
time
note,
behind the
and
mic.
just you guys carry on. I'm
So,
making a note right now to call
yeah,
Bridget after
Dawn, it's called VA for VO. If you
Yeah.
want to
Oh
post
yeah, I'll
that
throw
link
that
for
in there.
everybody.
She was on our show.
Yeah, and the virtual assistants are other voice actors, so they speak your language as well. And that keeps you, unless you can go look for virtual assistants on, Upwork or any of those other places
No,
too
no,
if
no.
you want.
I like
But VA for
Bridget,
VO
yeah.
specific to voiceover people.
Yeah, it makes more sense for someone
Yeah.
in this business to start with somebody who already knows the language, has an
Mhm.
idea of what you're looking for. Well, if you go out
Yeah.
to Upwork or all these things, then you get people that are generalists that are doing 400 other
And you're
things,
training them
and
from scratch. Yeah.
they don't know what our needs are. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And Bridget was awesome in the show, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. So that means if some of you haven't seen, you actually can go back, and it's only within the last 2 or 3 shows I get mixed up that she was on, and you can watch one of
Yeah.
the previous episodes. One thing is weird, if you go in to look at all these episodes, YouTube arranges them in the live category because they are live. So if you go look on the site, then it's like it almost looks like they don't exist. Oh, but there's a whole playlist that has all 60 of them, and in addition, if you look in the live category, then you'll see all of them. They're just all there. So
Yeah. And so much of what we do in the audiobook world translates so easily to the voiceover world.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the audiobook feeds my creative heart
Right.
and is why I got into this in the first place. The other stuff can fill out your schedule and do some other
And your
things
bank
that
account.
yeah,
Yep.
that too. So yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be, I feel like it would be an easier transition for someone to go from audiobooks to VO
Correct.
than the opposite, than
With
vice
the
versa.
with
So
one minor exception.
mm,
My wife, most of you know, so she's done, I don't know, we're somewhere around 70 audiobooks. But when we had 5 kids and she was homeschooling, a lot of times it was easier for her to do the voiceover things because they would be 1-day projects that she could
mhm,
fit in between all the stuff going on with our
yep,
family when they were around. They're all grown up and adults now. They're still around. It's a
they're still
different
here.
season for us. So she's ended up doing 8,000, literally 8,000 voiceovers over her career, and she's fit them in between all her homeschool teaching stuff over the years.
Yeah.
And then now she's back to, oh, I want to do some audio. Now I want to, because hey, they're now not around. Now I want to do some audiobook stuff.
What
Oh,
does she say?
He said,
What does she?
"Speed the fuck up,"
yeah,
because one, it's because of my sign. See, because what I say all the time, I got to duck this way. So
Oh, that
she,
is so funny.
yeah,
Yes, that's so true. They're like, you got to get all of this information in under 30 seconds, and you have
yes,
to get it right.
what
Yeah.
yeah.
oh my
She's
god, you know, the idea of when you think about what we do, and I say, "Slow down, take your
right.
time," and Paul Rubens says, "Don't help so much," you know, all that stuff. We all say to take your time and do it because okay, acting is acting, but there's different genres and things. When you say go from commercial or e-learning or telephony or or tourist and all that stuff, it's all different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you go to audiobook, and that's different, and it's all different genres, and you have to train yourself differently. But every one of them requires acting, and every one of them, like in a commercial, you're playing, and you're acting, but you're acting in 15, 30, 45, or 60-second bits,
Yep.
depending on what's there, and you've got
Mhm.
to have the time dead on. In an
Yeah.
audiobook, if the publisher tells you it's a 10-hour book and you take 15, that's probably a mistake somewhere, probably hopefully on their part in the timing. But if they say 10 hours and you do it in 6 or 7, that's the problem,
Yeah.
and that's what people need to learn to work on. So, but you're right when you say
Yeah.
you come from a theatrical background, that's kind of the nicest, or a film background. Those are the backgrounds to come from to get into audiobooks because
Mhm.
theatrically it checks off uh, the stage, the script, the
Mhm.
immediacy, and cinematically that's that kind of acting to tell the story because
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's slow and smaller. So it's what's we don't say enough about this is it's fun. Everything we do is fun.
Yeah.
And if it isn't fun, and there's a lesson, don't do it because it's not easy. The
Yeah.
requirements and the sacrifices are giant. So if this isn't for you guys, think about other things you might like to do because this is tough stuff. And you don't no one deserves a gig. You go get it.
No, and you have to hustle.
Yeah.
Because I still like I started with a PVC pipe booth that I built and used my mom's quilts and then got some acoustically treated blankets, and then I got this booth. It used to be a audiologist booth, and that's painted to look like the voice actor who had it before me, like Doctor Who, so it's blue on the outside. But and so it's just incremental growth, and I'm still not growing as quickly as I want because I'm also putting a lot of energy into being on the PTO. I know I need to get out of it. Jeremy has told me, and my friends have told me, Rosanna, you're starting a business. You need to take the time, So, but yeah, so getting 40 hours a week has been difficult this fall with my daughter's schedules. But yeah, it's a and even if I had 40 hours a week, it's incremental steps,
Well,
building on top, like building blocks on top
Yeah.
of each
Yeah.
other.
yeah, and performers,
But
by the
you
way, can't just sit and do 40 hours of performing. I mean, that's not. It just doesn't work that
Oh no,
way
that's not tenable.
constantly. I mean, so yeah, a lot of other stuff going on. And so Barbara answered here because somebody, I think Maria asked, what are people using a virtual assistant
a
for?
virtual assistant. Yeah.
And Barbara mentioned social media marketing, invoicing, whatever you don't have time to do. What do you use
Lead
them for?
generation. Okay, so I hired a former student
Hmm.
who is a new mom and wanted a few hours, a week to work, and she did lead generation. So lead generation is where they find the buyers. So whether it's a production company, you give a specific list of things that they're looking for, and they go out and find them and verify that they're real companies, real people. Who do you talk to at that company to basically send uh, your email, like
Demo.
your demo, and you send the intro email, say, hey, this is what I can do. If we can work together, I'd love to help out, kind of thing. Um, so that, where she would do the first email, because I had a template that I gave her, and then any that would come in, I would do the follow ups. That lasted 2 months before she decided to start her own company that's now a thriving wedding business, and she's doing great. So I don't have a virtual assistant anymore. But that's why I hired her, was for lead generation and that first intro email. But yeah, Barbara is
Cool.
absolutely right. Invoicing, social media stuff, all that as well.
Yeah.
We've all said, Donna said, I've said, many of the coaches that I kind of like in the business have said, as much of this as you can send out, the proofing, the mastering, the editing,
Mhm.
the lead generation, all that stuff that you can pay someone else to do does pay for itself over time, because it allows you to concentrate on the performance and
That's
do
a
more
mental
work
hurdle,
that way.
though.
Yeah. Well,
You're
it's a
absolutely
huge hurdle,
right.
but when I charge for my coaching, people say, well, it's $200 an hour. Now I know I could charge more, but I make more doing audiobooks than I do doing that. I don't want to overcharge, but I know some people charge more because they don't want to spend the time to do it, because the hour I spend with you is an hour I'm not spending making more
Hmm.
money doing an audiobook. So
Yeah.
everything's a trade-off. So the things you do, the hours you spend building leads, doing invoices, doing marketing, are hours you're not spending making money as a performer. And that's how
Yeah.
you have to start thinking. I mean, if you don't have any jobs, you're not working, you're brand new, you probably don't need a virtual assistant or an assistant right away. But as time goes on, one of the reasons I'm a tech Luddite is I don't even know how to master. I don't
Yeah.
really know what that even means. I don't know what they do. Don hits a button and something happens somewhere.
Well, and at a
I
point,
have
you're
an
going to be
image of
capped.
I have an image of like Harry Potter with those little those banking gnome guys, and all these wheels and levers are spinning and things happen. And at the end of it, Don pulls out a
And that's
perfect,
gone.
audio thing.
Well, we do talk
Banking gnome
occasionally.
Don.
But see, Johnny's so focused on the part of the business that he can't farm out. I mean, obviously, he can't call me and say, "Hey, can you do this voice for me?" It's like, no. I mean, he would never even ask. He already gets it. He has a voice. It's a unique voice. It works. So many people have demands for him to do that, that when something else comes up and isn't working, yeah, he sends me a message or he'll call me. And he does that with a whole bunch of other things as well. And the smart people in almost every business have people that are assisting with the areas that they are not. Either it's just not worth their time. There are only a few things
Hmm.
that you're unique on. Take advantage of them.
Yeah.
So that works really great. Um,
And you're doing that from the jump, Rosanna, which is you've just, I guess, you've really got your shit together, and it's great to see.
Thank you. I
I'm
don't feel
impressed by
like it
you.
all the time. I appreciate that. But I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
listen to people who know more than I do. And
the Pilcher we're seeing right now has her shit together. So stick with that guy. Yeah.
yeah, but I do think he's right in that the first thing you did in this business was you went to a conference, and let's just say you made an investment up front rather than saying, unfortunately, I mean, it works both ways, but I've seen people that say, well, you know what? I'm going to work at this business until I make some money, and then I'm going to go to Neener, or I'm going to go
mhm.
and get coaching with somebody. You did it backwards, or what I would consider forward. But a lot of people think of it the other way, that they're going to make money first. They're going to get a half dozen audiobooks or a dozen audiobooks out there, and then they will go and do some sort of conference.
I will say, my personality, I am an extrovert, so that's not hard for me. It is hard for some of my friends who are very introverted. So I realize that might be harder for other people. Because I'm an extrovert, I don't mind talking to a stranger. And then the follow up after I followed up and got my first coach. I was like, hey, I really liked your workshop. I respected what you had to say. Can we work together?
Right.
and it went from there. It kind of was off to the races at that point. But that's because I know part
Yeah,
of
but
that is because I'm extroverted.
I don't mean to be disagreeable, but
Okay,
I don't
lay it
see
on me.
it. I don't see it as you being an extrovert versus an introvert. What I see it as you being savvy about saying, I'm going to invest and learn and get some perspective from people that are more experienced, and then I'm going to take it from there. And being an extrovert, you can actually leverage some things more than somebody else. But if somebody's introverted, they better be going and meeting people
Yeah,
at some of these things, because there's nothing like having lunch with somebody who is a big shot, quote unquote, in my mind. And then you have lunch, and you know what? At lunch, they talk about, oh, my car isn't working, and oh, my house
yeah,
was flooded, and I've been in a hurricane, I've been in a earthquake, whatever. I mean, they talk about life. You can't talk
yeah,
business 100% of the time. You end up laughing and having a good time. So I think the
yeah,
introverts, to be honest with you, would do even better going to some of these things, even though it's slightly uncomfortable. They don't like the idea, but
yeah.
boy, can it help move. They find out this, you know, they find out real
That's where you
quickly
get
we all have our little flaws and we have our
uh-huh.
strengths, and we're all a
And that's
mix.
where you get excited too,
Yes,
and learn where your career could go, because
right.
there are so many different rabbit trails you could follow.
Yep.
And I did not know that. And fortunately, we are in a time where there's so many conferences. You got to pick at the litter, and some are better than others, and you got to fit, and some are fit your personality or your genre or whatever, and you got to figure that out. And some are broader, like VO Atlanta, encompass more.
Right.
I think the SOVIS, the Voice Arts Awards, or the not Voice Arts Awards, the Voice. What is that?
The voice,
The the that's voiceover in
society.
LA. I've never been
Yeah.
to that. I saw GM went to that. I wanted to talk to him to see how that was because I've not been to that one. Um, I love I love sharing like what each conference is like to figure out if that might be a good option in the future. Because if you budget for it, then it can help your mindset. Because that was hard for me in the beginning. When I first left teaching and we went down to one income was
Yeah.
the budget. But when you can take control of the finances and look at it, like where is the money going to go? There's freedom in saying I'm setting aside X amount for learning. Not Don Baarns. You're Don Baarns. Tom Deere. Tom
Okay.
Deere would call it the technique. Like, what are you doing
Yeah.
to make your technique better this year? And if you budget for that, then you don't feel guilty. And
Well,
anyway,
tell Jeremy to
yeah.
buckle down and get a lot of money because I want you to join us in Santa Fe in May and at Neener next year for our 10-year anniversary. Yeah.
I will tell I
He's right. I know
after
he's
this
here.
year.
He's
Is he
on.
here?
He's here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he
Okay.
made a comment here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this year in Boston, we decided we're going to take the girls next year, not to Neener, but to Boston, so they can do the history and everything and all
Oh
that with
yeah.
us. So yeah,
You
it'll be
know,
fun.
every year because Joanna and I come home right away because we drive with Paul and Paul Rubin and stuff. We might stay longer. I want to go to Boston. Just because it's so much fun and it is history and
Yeah.
it's wonderful
Yeah.
and we're there anyway.
Mhm.
But yeah, so enough. But listen, as we have more time. Any other questions for Ms. Pilcher? Yeah, no. Any other questions for the divine
I'm
Ms.
looking
Pilcher
through the
while she's here?
questions, and we did cover most of them there.
Yeah, for the first time ever, we did almost all the questions.
Yay!
We never do.
We
Yeah.
were succinct,
And the
and I'm
thing,
happy to answer any other questions after this too, if people want to follow up.
well, they should be. Can you give out your phone number and your
No,
No, her website.
I can
Get
give
her
you
there.
Johnny and Don's email address.
That's right.
No, it's
Yeah.
first, it's great having you on. Anything that you
Thank
want to
you.
promote here as we get close up here at the end? Anything that you want to tell people to go look at? I have put your site up there so they can go check out your
Yeah,
site, which is very cool, which
yeah.
I have
Thank
up
you.
here on mine because I looked at
That was
it.
a labor of love.
And
Rosanna, I have some ideas for you that you can start promoting something. I some. We'll talk later this week. I have some thoughts
Okay.
for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Something I'm putting it out there. I'm saying it out loud. Something I'm looking at going into next year. I was listening to another interview with someone, with a producer at PRH, and Ronnie Butler, and she was talking about directing. I was like, I love directing actors. I work with some of my actor friends on their auditions. And I directed forever, on stage. That might translate. So I'm putting it out there. I'm going to look at directing in the audiobook world next
Remind
year.
you that I have some
Okay.
names for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
It
Yeah.
just you make a little less than you do narrating though. Just
Mhm. Okay.
okay.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, just be
Yeah.
aware.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Noted.
Johnny, do you have anything to promote that are cool things to tell us about?
I will say that next week it'll be. We're gonna do a Christmas Eve day show. Just Don and I yapping at each other for an hour, and then I think the next thing coming up, Paul Rubin and I are probably gonna do. We talked about late January, early February. Might do a workshop in New York. Sean Pratt and I will be talking this week to work out our schedule. We're looking at Sean and I making some trips, but in addition, bigger things. The Santa Fe trip in May. I have to go through. I can't. I got to start in January and get there.
Good
And
thing you have
then,
enough fingers.
and then, of course, the 10-year anniversary of Neener in October 14th, I think, or something like that, in outside Boston. So that's all that's coming up
Awesome.
that I know of. And again, if you guys want to be part of our show, two things: make comments when you see that it's there, because that helps spread the word. And let us know. Just DM us if you want to be a guest. And if you're not a horrible human being, we'll put you on there.
Yep.
Yeah, even we'll even put Brenda Scott Wajloo on there.
She is one of the most amazing people.
I
I feel
she
like
knows
if we
I love her
lived
to
near
bits.
each other,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be separated ever.
She's
one
just
of the,
swell. Yeah.
I love her very, very much.
Well,
I
she's
love you,
lovely.
Brenda.
No.
So, also the branding, we didn't talk a lot about it. If you are interested in looking more into branding, Voiceover Achiever by Celia Siegel is chef's kiss. There's so many tangible things you can do. I read her book. I did a lot of the exercises in it. It was like a year-long process in the making for me.
Yeah, Tom
But
Gio recommends her too. Yeah.
it's a great starting point.
What's the name again?
Celia
Voiceover
Siegel.
Achiever. Yep. Voiceover Achiever by Celia Siegel.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
think
find it.
I think Siegel's Seigel. I think
SIE or EI. I always forget.
I get confused.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then website creation, voice actor websites does a good job. Denise Biondo at Biondo Studios is who did my website. They do a good job as well. Yeah, those are a couple of different website people. And
Yeah,
then upper level hosting is great for hosting your website if you want a voiceover specific host of your website.
Yeah, I'm doing multitasking here. I just got that
Yes,
book.
I'm throwing all this stuff at you at the end.
That's
I
all right.
just want to make sure that some of
I
this
gotta make sure this
information
comes up on the
gets
screen.
out there.
So that means people will be able to find it later.
Yeah.
And of course, Johnny and
absolutely.
I will do our end of the year recap next week. We are going to be off on New Year's Eve because we are.
Why not?
And then we'll be back, of course. We're I think about 64 of these things so far. It's amazing the support we've had out there. We really appreciate you showing up every week. Share this with friends. Comment after the show. It's very helpful in the YouTube. Comment during the show is helpful as well. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. You have a great week. Merry Christmas if we
Bye,
don't talk to you
everybody.
before then.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Rosanna Dana.
Thank y'all.